Subcommittee for Ag and Natural Resources Appropriations to order, subcommittee meeting. Appreciate you all coming that have come. Appreciate the committee members that have showed up. I have met with most of the department heads, agency heads, commissioners, and kind of gone through this with them, and so we're not going to spend an enormous amount of time on this. We'll spend a lot more time on the FY24 budget, the big budget, but I'd like to open the meeting with a prayer. If I could get Senator Anderson to do that, I would appreciate it.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. Dear Lord, we just ask you to give us the wisdom and knowledge to make the right decision for the great people of the great state of Georgia. Dear Lord, we just ask that your will be done, not ours. We ask you to watch over our families that we're away from them, keep them safe. Dear Heavenly Father, we love you and we need you. In your name's sake, amen.
Thank you. All right, first up is our Ag Commissioner, Chairman, Commissioner, Senator Commissioner Harper, our good friend.
I'm glad you're stopping there. I don't know what other topic Russ might take offense to that. Senator Goodman might take offense to that, Mr. Chairman. Well, Mr. Chairman, it's good to see you. Good to be with you. Thank you for the opportunity. This is my first trip to the Senate Subcommittee on Ag Appropriations, and I'm glad to be here. So, never sat on this side of this particular subcommittee, so it's a different perspective, my friend. But obviously, spent many years sitting on your side on this particular subcommittee, so I understand the task you have before you. And I appreciate the work that y'all do every single day in ensuring that we're getting the appropriate and proper appropriations needed for our individual agencies. So it's good to be here. So we're going to talk about that really quick. Section 13 is the Department of Agriculture. And just kind of talking through, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to talk through the House changes if that works.
Yes.
And we'll work through that. The first thing you'll find is the funds in here, increased funds for the Tifton Lab for $150,000. Mr. Chairman, you and I have already spoken about this. Those funds need to be moved to consumer protection. We appreciate those dollars, but it's not for the vet lab. This is specifically for the Department of Agriculture lab, the lab that we operate in Tifton for all the lab services that the department provides. So that $150,000 is for recommissioning of that lab in Tifton to ensure that we're for the health and safety and also for the accreditation of that lab to ensure that it stays accredited. And we appreciate the House putting that in there, and we would appreciate the committee's recommendation of keeping that money in the budget. Moving on, under consumer protection, there is the increase for raw milk. As all of you know, we passed the raw milk bill last year. And the start date on that is July 1 of this year. So for us to get the resources we need for labs and salaries and positions to ensure that we're up to speed to allow us to implement this starting on July 1, we need those resources to allow us to hit the ground running. So we've asked for a little over $766,000 to allow us to do that, to get the ball rolling. The House put that money in, and we would request that those particular dollars stay, Mr. Chairman. That was the request we made of the House.
Commissioner, I'll just point out to our committee members, he's got that itemized or the House has it itemized under the notes of under 49.1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 49.1.
And he has identified the, he's identified the equipment they need and has not ordered the equipment or purchased it, but it's been identified. And so
That's correct.
That's why it's such a specific number, is the commissioner's done his homework on putting a budget together, what's actually needed, and if it's approved, he can order it and
That's right.
start hiring people, et cetera.
Yes, sir. We can.
That's just for, equipment, not no salary.
No, this does include some salaries. Yes, sir. It's about 172,000 for salaries specifically, and that's for us to hire staff to begin the compliance side of this. Because with the law going into effect July 1, I got to have staff that's ready to go July 1 to be able to implement the law. So
I'm sorry, their
No, it's
copy
good.
didn't have the
So
details.
the 766 includes funds for vehicles, staff, salaries, and lab equipment. Any other?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Moving on, I think the remainder of what you'll find in the changes in the budget, specifically related to the department and the other divisions, including consumer protection, is the House provided increased funds to fully fund the $5,000 pay raise that the governor provided last year. What this is for is, many of you probably know that that in the department, and it's not just the Department of Agriculture, a lot of agencies have joint appointments between state-funded employees and federally funded employees. You know, some of our employees are 50-50, 75-25, 80-20. Just depends on what we're doing between USDA, FDA, EPA, and so whenever the $5,000 pay raise was done last year, the state funded the state's share of that portion, which would be $2,500 if it's a 50% appointment. So as a department, we have to go to the federal government to ask for that other $2,500. However, that said, I can tell you, even in my role as the commissioner, my predecessor did this as well. We're going to make sure that every employee gets the $5,000 pay raise. We're not just going to give them a $2,500 pay raise. So it was about a $400,000 hit to the department's budget to ensure that we covered all of our employees on the $500,000 pay raise. So those conversations happen with our federal partners. We got some of those funds back. I think so far we've received about $200,000 from the feds on that portion of the federal portion, but we still are short some of those funds. So if we utilize funds, we have to pull funds from somewhere else to fulfill that pay raise. And so what the House has done is they've put in those funds to ensure that we are covered on that piece. At the end of the day, even though we get reimbursement from the feds to cover parts of those salaries, they're still a state employee. They still are on the state health benefit plan. They're still on the state retirement system. They're still participate in all of those. So they are a state employee. We just get federal reimbursements for parts of their salary and benefits. So the House put in additional funds, and you'll see that throughout the remainder of their tracking sheet, and those are the other changes in that regard to help us cover those costs that we incurred for that pay raise for those employees to ensure that we're covered in the department. Mr. Chairman, that's the changes in the budget. The only thing that I will say, and we'll have more conversation about this, obviously in FY24, one of the issues that we're fighting with and dealing with, and I've met with all of our division directors, is retention, recruitment, and pay. And so we've been working through a salary study that we did this past fall. I look forward to bringing you more data in that regard and show you where the department is and where we stand in regards to our counterparts around the nation and our state departments of agriculture. But just to give you a prepared a heads up, we're under the water, so to speak, and so just would look forward to the conversation going forward and how we can help our employees execute the mission of the department, because we've got to have those meat inspectors and food inspectors doing their job every single day to keep consumers protected and to expand our #1 industry. We've got to ensure we have the resources at the department and the employees to do that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions? Senator Anderson?
Do we have any part-time employees, or are they all full-time?
Yes, sir. We do have a number of part-time employees. We have about 540 employees currently on the books. Do you know how many of those are part-time, Jimmy?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 100, I don't have the exact.
Okay. So around 75 to 100 of those 540 are part-time employees. And they do a variety of tasks, but yes, we do have some part-time. Yes, sir.
How many vacant?
Yes, sir.
How many vacant positions you have? I know we heard all the time the department there's shortage of folks.
So my understanding, right, and we're doing a study on all of that too, Senator, to ensure that we know where we are. But right now, based on the information I have as of this moment, we have about 100 full-time vacancies and about 70 part-time vacancies in the department. We're slotted for around 700 positions in the department. We only have about 540 on the books. And a lot of that has to do with just pay, honestly, and most of those positions are inspector level positions, and it's hard to encourage a college graduate to come work for the department for $35,000 a year. So that's a lot of it.
Just a comment. I mean, I completely agree with you. I just met a young man, just graduated from college. It's a different department, not yours. And I met him last week actually, and said, "Oh, I'm moving. I'm not going to mention the state, neighboring state." I said, "Why are you going with it?" They just offered it. He told me offered him like $12,000 more, and that's a lot of money. And just left. So we need to, reevaluate how we pay, how we compensate. We got to keep our folks that we graduating from our colleges, university, so we can keep him over here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chairman Burns?
Commissioner, the legislation that we dealt with today in the Senate that would allow the ability to determine what level of education experience that would be appropriate, is that going to help you in identifying some employees who can fill positions?
Senator, it may help in some, but some positions we have though actually do require that level of expertise, just to be honest. Because some of the positions we have are specialty related, especially in areas like food safety, veterinarians, among others, so there may be places for it in some cases, but a lot of the positions where we do require college level education are because those are positions in our department which we because of the job and the role that they play, it requires a higher level of education and understanding to be able to do that job and provide that service to the state. So there may be some places where we can make some adjustments, but there's still a lot of places where we still are going to have to require post-secondary education for positions that we have in the department.
If I could do one follow-up.
Yes, sir.
I understand we have a shortage of inspectors.
Yes, sir.
Certainly, meat inspectors would be one area. There are others. Are those potential candidates for bringing in entry-level individuals and then having supervisory positions who could oversee their work at a higher level?
And that's definitely a possibility, and that's some of the stuff that we can look at internally to try to figure out what that looks like and how we can address that in the department. That is definitely something that is a possibility, and obviously, anything that can help us address those issues, and I know this legislation starts that step in that direction to try to help us address some of those things. Definitely, those are tools in the toolbox to help us with the workforce that we need to do our job every single day. Yes, sir.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank
Glad
you,
to be here.
Senator. Glad to be here.
Commissioner, just for our knowledge and edification, I'm still learning in this role, and the other committee members may appreciate it, and I guess there may be people watching this online. Introduce your staff that is here,
Oh, yeah.
please, sir.
Yes, sir.
And, because I know that we oftentimes will need to contact
Interact.
them for various issues. And then after that, if you would, give us the breadth of what all the your department handles, and then kind of explain your partnership or your contracting with the federal government, so that we have Georgians on the farm and in the stores, et cetera, doing these inspections for consumer protection,
Yes, sir.
versus feds down here.
Yes, sir. So, really quick, we do have a handful of folks with us from the department. I think they're all sitting next to each other. I'll start on the left. If you want to stand up, Jenna Saxon is Chief of Staff for the department. She worked at the department before going to Farm Bureau, most recently with Georgia EMC, and she's come back on board as the Chief of Staff. Sitting next to her is Jimmy Wilson. Jimmy is the Chief Financial Officer for the department. Jimmy's been there for quite a number of years, and so helping us with all our finance inside and budgets and all that good stuff. And then I don't think any stranger to many of y'all, Dominic Laricchia is working for us at the department and helping us with constituent and field services. So that's who's with us today. And to your question, Mr. Chairman, I don't think most Georgians understand the breadth that the Department of Agriculture oversees, and obviously we could have a long conversation about this, and I don't want to dig down into the weeds, but easiest way to tell folks is from the gas pump to the grocery store and everywhere in between, the Department of Agriculture impacts you in some way. I argue that the Georgia Department of Agriculture is probably one of the main state agencies, or one of very few state agencies, if not the only one, that impacts every Georgian every day. Whether you go to a convenience store or a gas pump or a grocery store, or you contract to have pest control services at your house, those are all regulated by the Department of Agriculture. You know, we ensure food safety in meat processing and food processing facilities across this state. You know, weights and measures from the fuel pumps to the scale houses that weigh out whether it's logs or timber or fertilizer, or to the scales at the butcher shop. Those are all certified by the Department of Agriculture, and you know, all of that work is done by our inspectors and our field agents across this state. They're the boots on the ground to ensure that we're doing that every single day and providing that service to this state. You know, one of the things that we want to do is grow our state, grow our economy, and we can grow our economy through the ag industry. That's what we do great in the state of Georgia. But for us to grow that ag economy, we've got to be able to provide the resources to ensure they have the tools they need to be successful. And so, you know, for us to build more meat processing facilities, I need more meat inspectors to be able to do those jobs. And so that's why it's very important that we support those in the field, and that we support agencies that are ensuring that our state continues to be prosperous, and our number one industry plays a significant part of that. I'm proud to lead that agency. I'm proud to work with a lot of dedicated individuals who ensure that our number one industry is successful, our food is safe, the supply chains keep moving, and at the end of the day, consumers learn and understand the importance of agriculture in Georgia. I'm proud to be the commissioner. Glad to be here with y'all. I appreciate y'all's support. I look forward to our work together in ensuring we're executing the mission that we've been tasked with at the department, and the role that agriculture will continue to play to allow our state to prosper and be successful.
And we continue to add responsibilities. Since I've been in the legislature, we've added
Just a few.
soil amendments, now raw milk,
Yes, sir.
hemp, and you
A lot of conversation about a lot of other stuff this session too, Mr. Chairman.
really, your responsibility continues to grow.
Yes, sir.
And it you know, costs money to do it. And I'm really excited about the commissioner and his leadership, and we would basically, were it not for the Georgia Department of Ag, I guess we'd have a lot of USDA people.
I didn't even go down that path. Yes, sir.
But that's where he was talking about on the shared salaries, is
Yep.
they have either a contract or a
We have an
memorandum.
MOU with federal partners to provide those services on the state level by state inspectors. That way federal inspectors are not in that capacity.
Cause we think Georgians can do a better job for Georgians.
Amen.
And you potentially could have a 100% Georgia state employee, his funding 100% from, the Georgia legislature, working side by side with somebody that's 50-50 federal.
That is
And
100%
So you
accurate.
can't give the one, and doing the same work,
That's correct.
you can't give one employee a raise and give the other one 50% of the raise. I mean, that just wouldn't work.
No, sir.
That gets back to one of his budget asks, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it.
Chairman.
We look forward to hearing from you again on the big budget. Chairman Anderson.
When we gonna start seeing your name on the gas?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm sure as those gas pumps are inspected across the state, those stickers will be changed out. I just ask folks to make sure they don't see any "I did it" stickers with my face on them. So if they do, I'm asking everybody to pull them off. So thank y'all for what you do. Appreciate
Thank
all of you.
Commissioner.
Good to see you.
Thank you for your very able-bodied staff, too.
Yes, sir.
So.
Thank you. I got a great team. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank y'all.
Next, Department of Natural Resources. I believe Commissioner Williams has had a conflict today with another task he's taking care of. Who do we have representing DNR today?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My name is Artisha Gaston on behalf of Commissioner Williams, and I'm the Director of Admin Services for the Department of Natural Resources.
Okay.
So today we'll be talking about the AFY 2023 budget, which can be found on pages 10 through 17 of the tracking sheet. So the House has 3 recommended additions to DNR's AFY 23 budget. On page 15, line 236.1, there's a $1,500,000 addition, and these are pass-through funds to complete the Jekyll Island Public Safety Complex. And then down below that, on 236.2, our State Parks and Historic Sites Division received an increase of $2,500,000 for major renovations and repairs. And then if you turn over on page 17, line 238.1, we have a $150,000 increase to our Wildlife Resources Division to mitigate the spread of invasive plants due to Hurricane Michael. Now, at this time, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions the committee may have on DNR's amended fiscal year 2023 budget.
All right, so we'll go back to line 236.1.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any questions regarding that? This basically is a project that was initially planned, I believe, in 2019. Was when the planning started on this, and when they got the actual bids in from multiple contractors with the inflation like it is, all the bids came in substantially higher than the amount of money that was appropriated. They re-engineered it, basically value engineered it is how they described it, and got the cost somewhat down, but it's still going to take an additional $1.5 million to do that project. So it's not a project, my understanding, it's not a project that started and they ran out of money. They just got the actual hard bids in, and that's what we're looking at there. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Well, we actually do not manage that project. That's just a pass-through for us. So we send those funds straight to Jekyll Island for them to handle.
Yeah, to the authority.
Yes, sir.
If you hadn't been to Jekyll Island lately, you need to go. It's amazing, the improvements that have been made down there, and what jewel it is for our state and how many Georgians are enjoying it and what an economic engine it is for that area. The return on investment's really impressive there with what they generate in sales tax and hotel motel tax and park fees and that kind of thing. All right, and then next, House added on 236.2 funds for Sapelo Island is what that is. Any questions there? And then the other add or other thing that varied from the governor's recommendation was line 238.1, and that is the invasive plant is, I'm told, a Cuban bulrush, and I think that's in Lake Seminole.
That's correct.
Be happy to entertain any questions. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move on. We should have a packet that you guys had to, for our action item for this
Okay,
committee.
introduce your people that are with you here today, if you would.
Okay. We have Colonel Thomas Bernard here with us. We have Donald Kirkland with Government Affairs and Major Stephen Adams.
Thank y'all for being with us today.
So everyone should.
Y'all have one of these? Is this the GOSA
Yes, sir, it is.
grant?
So in the folders, you'll find the 2022-23 Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program project slate and map. And this slate of projects was approved by the GOSA Board of Trustees on January 10th and by the DNR Board on January 27th. Now, this slate of projects requires a up and down vote from you today and the approval of our House Appropriations Subcommittee, which will go to them later. And as a reminder, you'll be voting on the project slate, not individual projects.
Are you all, the committee members, are you all aware of GOSA, where these funds come from?
Georgia Office of Student Chief.
No,
That's the might be a little bit of a preference.
So, and I think I carried the legislation, back in, what, 18 or so?
2018, that's correct.
For Governor Deal, I was a floor leader, and we added we made it where a portion of the sales tax on outdoor recreational equipment goes into this fund annually. 0.5% or a,
Yes, sir, of those funds go into the Georgia Out Stewardship
and
Program.
then communities and nonprofits and state agencies are able to apply for grant funding out of this trust fund. And so if you buy a gun or ammunition or a tent or camping supplies or a boat, that money goes into this trust fund to be reinvested back into outdoor recreational opportunities in our state. And a big focus of this year's slate of grants that they've chosen, and they score them. It's a pretty detailed process where they score the grants. A lot of this is acquisition of land that'll be, forever protected for outdoor recreation use. I'm really pleased with how this has been working. It's a great, so I want you to know about it because your community, your district, communities in your district can apply for these grants.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, since the inception, we've completed 13 projects with 106 million in total project cost and 18.7 million of GOSA funds. So it's definitely making an impact on Georgia.
I'm a little distraught that there's not more in Middle Georgia or not anything, I don't think, in Senate District 20, but There's a little bit in Dooley County actually, but that's kind of on us, to be honest with you. I look, you know, if there aren't applications from your district, there's not a very good chance they're gonna get any money, so.
And the cycle opens August.
But we're kind of the last, stop on this. Really, we don't have, it's kind of more of an oversight role. It does require our approval, but again, as she said, we don't have line item veto or line item approval. We vote up or down on the whole slate. And, they have all been vetted very thoroughly. So I would entertain a motion. Yes, sir. All right, motion and second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
We approve
Mr.
them.
Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Next, and thank y'all for staying open during the pandemic and giving people a place. It was good for our mental health, physical health, and economy, and you all, we don't need to forget that. That was huge. Thank you. Next, we have our Georgia Forestry Commission Director, Tim Lauermore.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and great to be with you and members of your committee this afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present our budget items to this committee. I will be respectful of your opening remarks and comments. I've provided a handout, a packet, and you also have a presentation that I'll be working from, but it will reference the tracking sheet, so it should be easy for you guys to follow on either portion. It comprises of 8 slides, and I'm only going to talk about 5 through 7. But I think that will accomplish what we're trying to accomplish here today. I will just for a quick update, you know, on behalf of our 560 employees that get up and go to work for Georgia every day at the Georgia Forestry Commission. 2 years into it, it's amazing that it's already been 2 years that I've had the opportunity to serve in this role. It continues to be a great honor and a great privilege to represent those individuals, as well as really fulfilling our mission of providing leadership and service that is dedicated to the protection and management of Georgia's forest resources. All of you know that it is an extremely valuable resource to our state, and it's something that our employees take great pride in being a part of. So, introductions for our folks. I've got Thomas Farmer here in the back with us. Some of you may know Thomas. He's our Strategic Initiatives Director, who is working on our agency's audit performance response that this committee funded last year. We'll reference that in just a minute. But Thomas was able to join me this afternoon, and Michelle Gray, who is our Director of Administration, I'm told is in the room virtually. She's watching from afar. She had her husband had surgery that she was unable to get away from today. So, but I think we can get through the AFY 23 budget. Want to just run through on line item the section 2611 in the governor's recommendations. He added 830 in there, and the House supported that for the purchase of 28 lease vehicles. 26.3.1, the governor added 513 to help our agency deal with pressure that we're feeling from inflation and higher fuel cost. And then in the House recommendation.
Excuse me, Director.
Yes. Am I working off the different tracking sheet? Sorry. 20.
Start on
Page
page 6.
6. Thank you.
Yeah, the numbers, the House uses the wrong numbers.
I should have known that, sorry. Section 26. So there was, 167.1, my apologies for that, Mr. Chairman. The governor put 830, and then the House supported that, 830 for the purchase of 28 leased vehicles. We found ourselves in that situation due to the supply chain issues with vehicles, and we asked for your favorable support for that. And then on 167.2, you will see in a reduction of personnel based on the actual start date of a new position, and that is Mr. Farmer back here. We committed to hiring an individual that we felt could do the job that we wanted to do, and we were unable to onboard him on July 1st. He onboarded into October, so this is the reduction of that's the delta there, and the House removed that out. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes the budget highlights for our agency, and we would just ask for your continued support for those, this committee's support for those changes. And I'll wrap up with just sharing, and I'll be glad to take any questions, but just wrap up. You know, our Commissioner Tyler Harper discussed some of the operational risk that his agency face. And we're no different. Our two top risks right now that we face is fight to retain viable employees. And I use the word viable very strategically. We're not looking for just employees. We're looking for viable, well-trained, well-educated, folks that are willing to buy into our mission and serve. And across our landscape, our foresters and rangers, about 430 of our employees, which make up 430 of our employees, but foresters and rangers, one out of three have less than 3 years of experience. And then our second operational risk remains inflation and just the cost of doing business. Maintenance and repairs and the issues we see with supply chain, increased fuel cost, and that's reflected in the budget. And the governor's acknowledged that, and the House has supported that as well. So, Mr. Chairman, you know, I will pause there and be happy to take any questions.
Chairman Anderson.
Going back to the vehicles, is it just vehicles or is there any equipment?
This is just vehicles. These are F-150 pickup trucks, light trucks, service trucks.
Are we up to date on the equipment, dozers and all?
We, the last two sessions, we ordered 15 tractors over the last two sessions, the 2 years that I've been here, and we are finally beginning to receive those tractors. So, you know, we have a very well-capitalized fleet of dozers, of equipment to respond to wildfires. Yes, sir. And I think in fiscal year 24, we'll talk about that as well. There's some particular bonds in there for that.
Any other questions? Is Georgia still the #1 state for forestry?
Georgia remains the #1 forestry state in the nation. Yes, sir. That's a fact that we're extremely very proud of.
I appreciate the business approach you've brought to the agency and the good job you're doing, and we want you to thank your people for us for their dedication to protect our forest, and know that's a huge employer forestry is throughout the state, and not only just actual, you know, the timberland, but of course all the products that come out of that, and the paper products, and wood, shelter, everything. So we appreciate it. You got an important job. You're doing a good job.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. Despite my inability to follow the correct tracking sheet, I'll do better next time, I promise you. Thank you for that confidence. Yeah. Thank you for that vote of confidence.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
All right. Now, if you have questions on any other sections that are in the tracking sheet, I'm happy to get with you. Lindsay is available here. She's done a super job getting me ready for this, and, she's available to you if you have, any particular questions. Otherwise, I think we've covered what we need to. Again, we're gonna need to dig in deeper on the big budget, but, we've hit the highlights of the changes, in this one. So, thank you all for being here, and the meeting's adjourned.